O king, if you can give proper protection to the living beings in the material world, that will be the best service for me. When the Supreme Lord sees you to be a good protector of the conditioned souls, certainly the master of the senses will be very pleased with you. Purport. The whole administrative system is arranged for the purpose of going back home, back to Godhead. Brahma is the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Manu is the representative of Brahma. Similarly, all other kings on different planets of the universe are representatives of Manu. The law book for the entire human society is the Manu Samhita, which directs all activities towards the transcendental service of the Lord. Every king therefore must know that his responsibility in administration is not merely to exact taxes from the citizens, but to see personally that the citizens under him are being trained in Vishnu worship. Everyone must be educated in Vishnu worship and engaged in the devotional service of Rishi Kesha, the owner of the senses. The conditioned souls are meant not to satisfy their material senses, but to satisfy the senses of Rishikesh, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the purpose of the complete administrative system. One who knows this secret, as disclosed here in the version of Brahma, is the perfect administrative head. One who does not know this is a show bottle administrator. By training the citizens in the devotional service of the Lord, the head of a state can be free in his responsibility. Otherwise, he will fail in the onerous duty entrusted to him and thus be punishable by the supreme authority. There is no other alternative in the discharge of administrative duty. Wow, this is my word. Administrative. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangrung Langayate Girim Yat Kripatam Ahang Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Nina Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Parang Shushrushanam Mayam Syat Praja Rakshaya Naripa Bhagavangste Praja Bhartur Rishikesho Nutushyati. O king, if you can give proper protection to the living beings in the material world, that will be the best service for me. When the Supreme Lord sees you to be a good protector of the conditioned souls, certainly the master of the senses will be very pleased with you. Hare Krishna. We hear here in this purport about the duty of the leader and about the purpose of creation. Many people might ask, why is there a creation at all? What's the purpose of the creation? And as we learn, the purpose of the universe and the creation is to give the living entities a chance to go back home, back to Godhead, as Prabhupada says. So the world is, in that sense, a school. The universe is a school. And we are all the students. And as most of us have been to school. Maybe someone has not been to school? Everyone has been to school. Yeah, it can be sometimes. So, but we see, everyone has been to school. And a school cannot work without a teacher. Right? In every class there is a teacher. That's the purpose of going to school. The school is not a school without a teacher. So in the same way, the universe, as being a school, should have a teacher. And the universe or the world has many teachers. There are some obvious and some not so obvious. In general, of course, Krishna is the teacher, right? In general, Krishna is the teacher, but he has his representatives in the universe, either personal, physically present teachers, but also karma itself, right? Like the laws are also teachers in that sense. But I want to focus more on the personal teachers. So, who is the teacher? Of course, the guru is the teacher. But not only that, to facilitate a society in which the disciples, the students can learn nicely, it needs administration. My word, huh? Administration. And the teachers, who are the brahmanas or the spiritual master, are actually not the ones who create the infrastructure for the whole system. This is actually done by the leader, the king. So the king has also a kind of a role as he's like the headmaster in one sense, right? Of course, the brahmanas are above him, that's obvious, but just in this example, he has to make a system. He has to facilitate that the students can learn something. And this is the point, the main point, as Prabhupada makes it here, the main point of a leader, a king, a president, a government. This is the main point, that they make sure that the subjects, the citizens, learn about, the truth, about God, the soul, about the universe, the real purpose. And Prabhupada says here, this is the was it not said here? Anyway, but this is like the main purpose, the main purpose. And if the leadership or the government, nowadays we don't have a king anymore, but government, we can put it on government. If the government is not taking care of the spiritual education, of course also material education should be there, of course, but also of the spiritual education of the citizens, then they are, Prabhupada puts it here nicely, as this is one of Prabhupada's phrases, show bottle administration. Show bottle, what he said here? Where was it? I don't find it, no. Don't find it. Where was it? Which connection? I don't find it. So small purport. Either I read it through or just cruise through with my eyes, but it doesn't catch. It doesn't catch. I don't catch it. Oh, here it is. Show bottle administrator. So, show bottle administrator. And now I was thinking, I wanted to look it up before I went to lecture now, but I had no time. Someone has never heard this phrase of Prabhupada, especially if you read English books. If you read in German, I don't know what was it in German? Huh? Ja. Vorzeigeflasche steht hier, ja? Vorzeigeflasche. Okay. So most of you, especially those who read English and read Prabhupada's books to some extent, you definitely came across this phrase, show bottle. Yeah? I think everyone. So what does it mean, show bottle? So I only can speculate, right? But in translation is interesting. Vorzeigeflasche. It's kind of it's like you have in a shop many bottles, and Prabhupada had shops, right? He was selling medicine, so he had many bottles. And it's not that you put on advertisement, so to say, the content of the bottle. Yeah, you put just the bottle there, and it's the label and everything is there, but there's nothing inside. So this is a show bottle. This is the show bottle, a Vorzeigeflasche. For the customer, it makes no difference. He just has to see what is the bottle, what's on the etiquette, what's written there, what is inside. It makes no difference. Just when you buy it, it makes a difference if something's inside. But just for showing, it's okay. So, what is then a show bottle administrator? Yeah, he just pretends to be something like that. He pretends to be. He has just the label leader. He's just a label king or president or like this. It's just a label. There's nothing inside. And in one sense, he's a cheater. He pretends to be something. He shows off to be something what he's not. And what is not inside? There's no knowledge inside. Prabhupada said here before that every king therefore must know this, his responsibility in administration. And this means to know the law book of entire human society, which is Manu Samhita. Maybe you should read Manu Samhita. I think it's very interesting. Because Manu Samhita is the book which is very practically governing the human society. And Prabhupada says here, and the whole system of the Manu Samhita is to bring the living entity to Krishna. So in one sense we can say, why is it relevant for us? Okay, if we are directly engaged in bhakti, then it's not relevant to us. It's true. But Prabhupada he also stressed Varnashram Dharma system. And Varnashram Dharma system, what is the foundation of it? Or what is its direction, how to do it? It's Manu Samhita. Yeah, Manu Samhita is the text which shows exactly who has to do what and how and all that. It's a law book. It's a law book. It's like our Sharia. Right? In Islam, they have a Sharia. They want to have a state based on Sharia, which is actually nice. Of course, we might not say, okay, Islam law might not be so wonderful and great, but yeah, they have a point. This is a law. For them, it's the law given by God. And why should you not respect it? We also say that the Veda is knowledge and is law given by God. And Manu Samhita is the practical application. Who should do what and how? And how should a king deal with the subjects, especially when they are not obeying? What is the punishment? Yeah. And it's heavy. Definitely, it might be very heavy. And because the human society went into atheism, more or less, yeah, there's just some pretension of some religiosity, but actually it's more or less. They also went away from laws of God and made their own law. That's what we have now. The states, more or less, are run by a law made by humans. But it was not always like that. Normally, the law was also in Shastra, was also in Scripture. It was Manu Samhita. But now this is, of course, something... Because why is it like that? Because of this rational... approach that we should not base our behavior and our activities on religion, because religion has now no rational base and it's just something from ancient times, and who knows where it's coming from, and you cannot take it serious. You can take it into account for your spirituality, for meditation, for like this, but not for like real practical things. There we have to find out how it should work, right? This enlightenment phase of human society, where the intellect and the rational approach, this is like the supreme. This is what defines what is good, what is bad, what is reality, what is not reality, what should be done, what should not be done. The mankind itself, the man himself should find this out, because we got this intelligence. And there's a point to it. It's true, we should use our brain. But it has all its limitations. So it's interesting how the laws are now found out. Of course, there is some foundation also in religion, like Christianity, with a couple of its laws, plays into, or with its principles, plays into the modern law too. Yeah, but still, the majority of the laws are done by lawyers. The lawyers, they're still tweaking the laws. Always the laws are changing, and they try to find out how it works. And might be okay. Maybe it can be like a connection. Maybe it can be a connection, like spiritual principles applied in a rational way. But still, Prabhupada says here that the government should not be only interested in extracting taxes from the citizens. Prabhupada said this here. Every king, therefore, must know that his responsibility in administration is not merely to exact taxes from the citizens, but to see personally that the citizens under him are being trained in Vishnu worship. Yeah, so this is what the state should be interested in. Nowadays, of course, this now I go into practical thing. If you have now, we can give a presentation now in the EU Parliament or something like this. What would we tell them? Would we tell them, and they ask us, how should we run a state? How should we run a state? And then we would say, finally we are asked. Finally we are asked. Okay, first close all the slaughterhouses, then the principles of Bhagavad Gita and Manu Samhita should be applied. Only Vishnu should be worshipped. Area should be a temple of Vishnu, Sankirtan and all that. And the whole state should run like that, we might say. But might not be so easy. What about the other religions as example? Are they okay? No, they are not okay. Kick them out. What? Right? Religious war. What? How do you connect all that? So in that sense, we could be a little bit more flexible and say, okay, a state should not just propagate Hare Krishna consciousness right now. It's not possible. Yes, it's too diverse. It's too diverse. You have to also take the others into account. So in general, a state right now should at least further religion in general and further a moral lifestyle. If this would be at least something what they push on, a moral lifestyle, this would be already big, yeah. And then maybe step by step we could come to a state which has Vishnu worship as its prime goal. Yeah. And we can see a trend towards that, right? At least vegetarianism is becoming more enforced, becoming more in vogue, so to say, in vogue. And other things, maybe not. Yeah, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to run a country, I guess. Before we might have said, when can we get, because Prabhupada was saying to Rameshwar something like this, you will get the government. Devotees in the 70s, they were very focused on that. One day, very soon actually, we will get the government. We will rule the country. We will rule the world. And I guess they would have messed up big time. I think they would have messed it up. They want to run into wars and this and that. I don't know what would have happened if the Hare Krishna movement of the 70s, GBC would get the government of America. I think it's very difficult to run a country. So, but one day it might happen. But still, it's very difficult. And so in that sense, we are easy to blame, right? I'm also easy to blame the government and this and that. And yeah, it's true, we can blame them. They are fools and rascals, yes, but from the other point of view, could we do it better? Of course, we are devotees, we would know what are the principles, but would we know how to apply them? Could we lead a country and everyone is happy? Maybe we take Simhachalam community as a small country as example. How do we run this little country? Does it work? And yeah, of course it works, but it's not easy. Yeah. So what to speak of running a whole country? So it's not easy. We should not, and in that sense we can give some credit to them. Okay, in Germany the streets are nice. They have the system works. In that sense, we cannot complain. Of course, there are many things which are not good. There is corruption, and there are weird, really weird philosophies, if you could call them like this, which they want to put on the people and in the educational system, and real demonic also, right? There's a shadow side to the whole thing, definitely, and really crazy. But many things they get right, no? They do it nicely. No? So we can give some credit, I want to say, to the politicians, to the leaders. But at the same time, we should also see their mistakes and should be critical. And see, as Prabhupada says, this is Prabhupada's standards very high. To say the leader must be God conscious and he has to communicate God consciousness to the people. It's very high. Then you can say, of course, they are all fools and rascals and show bottles. Now, Merkel is not very enlightened. She's not a very, God conscious person. Maybe she believes a little bit in God. She's in the CDU, right? This is like a God-conscious party. Christian Social Democrats or something in English. No, Christliche Demokratische Union. Warum lacht ihr denn so sehr? Ist das so lustig? Ja? Das ist eine gottesbewusste Partei. Ich meine, haben ihre Werte da. Oh, they have their values in that. But, yeah, there's not much left. So, anything deep. But so from one point of view, we can be a little bit, cool and, give some credit. Yeah, you run the country nicely, the streets are working, and, the streets are nice. I think this is where it ends. Germany is famous for the Autobahn. Still, this we kept. I think Hitler started it, right? I think he started the Autobahn. So... But this is not allowed to say that we are based on Adolf Hitler. Germany's street system is based on... No. It's not possible. There's a dark spot in the history. But still, I know they have nice streets. They have some system. It works. We can be a bit free. But there are many dark sides too. So maybe I'm a little bit... Maybe my presentation is not so clear. Maybe it's a little confusing, but... Because it's a confusing big topic, but what I want to say, we tend to go into these extremes, to be very critical with material things, with materialism, materialistic people. But I think as devotees we can give some credit, but without being like how to say, a fan of the system. This is not my point. But some credit can be there because could we do it better? It's not easy. And it's Kali Yuga and they have no education and they are corrupted and they are completely slaves of their mind and their senses. Yeah. So some credit, some what is it? Relativieren? How do you say how do you say in English? Relativieren. Huh? Relating, I don't know, to put it into perspective, the whole thing. But from the other point, we have Shastra, which with a high standard and the pure principles, and then we can say fools and rascals and show bottles and all that. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So this for the beginning, right? To put this into perspective. So, and the next point is now what I want to make is. Because if we have some appreciation, one day, if somehow or other we get into serious contact with leaders of the state, and it starts already, at least in small ways, if we have this complete, antagonistic mood, it's very difficult to communicate with them. So it's better to see some good in there and appreciate them also as souls and try their best, but then also criticize them and tell them how they can do it better. Because the Brahmanas and Prabhupada wanted ISKCON to be a movement of Brahmanas, should give advice to the government. Yeah. So we should, in that sense, try to help if one day we come into a position when we can give some advice and help. And a very little example, like in 20, 30, 40 years ago, maybe 20, 30 years ago, Simhachalam community was, I guess, I don't know, was it, but maybe someone can correct me. Maybe it was more isolated and might not have been so much in contact with the surrounding and the people and this and that, and not with the government of Jandelsbrunn, the Bürgermeister. No? I don't know how the relationship was. But now it's very good. And we don't go to Mr. Freund, who is our mayor, yeah, and tell them, you are a dirty, cow-eating Bavarian. You are a rascal. Because this is said here in our books, and this is the law, and you should stop this nonsense and, go to your church and pray or something. Actually, we should, as in good ancient times, when the conquering religion took over, the first thing they did was destroy the place of sacrifice and build their place of sacrifice. So we go now all with torches and forks in our tractor to Jandelsbrunn and destroy the Moloch, destroy the symbol of atheism in the garb of religion, this pyramid-shaped church. And then we build a nice temple for Narasimhadev there. I see you're not laughing, so you take me serious. Very good. Very good. I think I converted you to my sinister plan, taking over Jandelsbrunn. So that means we take over the religion and we take over the government. So Mr. Freund has to be converted or dethroned, and the church has to be replaced. This is how you conquer. Yeah. So I think this is not the right mood. It's not what we should do. We should try to get somehow or other in communication and turn them around, at least make them favorable and all that. So in that sense, sometimes it might come that we get into higher spheres of politics and influence. And it's very tricky. And a little example, two things, because also Dhiran Itar gives here this lecture of how ISKCON is kind of progressing in the future and the challenges and how we are maybe even contaminated or undermined in our principles. And the saying also goes, what is it? The religion which marries the, what, you know it, because your guru is always quoting it. How's it? The religion which marries the spirit of the day is a widow tomorrow. The religion, because the spirit of the day is always, of today is always changing. And so tomorrow, this religion, which means I want to hook up with the zeitgeist to be cool, tomorrow is completely not cool. Because the time is always changing. So if we as religious people are always looking for what is cool, what is in, and we try to adapt to the time, to the today, we have to always run after this zeitgeist, because it's always changing. And we have to always change. And what will happen in 10, 20, 40, 50, 100, or 1,000 years, the religion will not be the same anymore. And this is always the conflict between tradition and conservatism and the liberal side. The liberal is more adaptive and tries to be more flexible, and the conservative tries to conserve his values and principles. So, of course, we have to find the balance of both. So, what I wanted to say is, so we find ourselves also in this conflict because many of our principles are challenged by the zeitgeist, and if we always try to adapt, our principles are gone quickly. So, and the other point is, when we come now into contact with politics or those who can make us even more favorable, it depends also what we want from politics. Do we want to be hooked up with politics and the zeitgeist that we can communicate our thing better, or do we want to give selfless advice without any expectation from their side? And I see nowadays, it seems to me, at least from an outsider perspective, that as ISKCON, we kind of fell into a mood of, they have to love us, kind of. Because we were hated so long. And finally, we have one foot in the door, and we have some contacts to some more influential people or politicians or this and that, and we don't want to get kicked out. We are not in it. We are not in it. But at least we have a foot in the door, and we want to, that they really let us in. Be very nice that they really let us in. Which undermines our presentation, our preaching, or that what we say. Doesn't mean we should be stupid and say out things, blunt things out, like Gormohan sent me a file now, a very interesting file of, what was it? There's a big swastika, and it's written by one devotee, Rai Ram or something, and it's about Prabhupada and Nazis or something, what? And Prabhupada and Aryans and the swastika and all the quotes Prabhupada made about Aryans, Nazis, Third Reich, Hitler and all that. Right? And which are many quotes actually. Prabhupada said many things about Aryan, all that. So it doesn't mean that we should write a book like this and go with this on Sankirtan. I think this would be very counterproductive. Yeah, I don't mean that we should be like this, but at least we should have our basic principles and values said. So, but sometimes we might think, or the preacher might think, oh, this might be triggering, and in order that my foot stays in the door because I want to slip in, maybe I don't say this, I don't say that. I say these things which they want to hear. And many things we have to say are which want to be heard, and we can pronounce them and base many things on them, but there are some things which should be said which are not no pleasure for the materialistic and modern mind. So I see nowadays, it seems to me a bit that we as ISKCON are more on this, finally, many years we were the sect, we were the cult, we were the weirdos, and finally, somehow or other, we are a little bit accepted, we are a little bit, we don't want to lose that, and we are very, very careful, which is smart, is okay, we should be careful, we shouldn't lose that, but we should not now be like, without potency. No? We should not be now all that. So, but the other, I don't want to say extreme, that would be offensive if I say the other extreme is Prabhupada, but Prabhupada, and this is a classical scene, Prabhupada was invited to one of the biggest, most influential mayors of the world. Right? There are many mayors in the world, right? He was not invited to the president, but to a very influential mayor, the mayor of Paris. Big, that's very big. And it was like this because the devotees, they were doing an Harinam. I think it was in an airport or something, or a train station. And at the same time, there came the ambassador from India, arrived in Paris. And there was a delegation from the mayor to receive the ambassador, the Indian ambassador. But they did not, they spaced something out. They did not know how to receive him well. And they saw the devotees doing Harinam. And they went to the devotees and said, what shall we do? You know something about India. So, and the devotees went there, made Harinam, made a flower garland. And the ambassador of India was like pleased beyond measure. He was like, wow. Because this is, like here also, the ambassador of India was here 2 years ago or something like this. And they are Indians, and they like Krsna and temple and worship and flower garlands. This is their culture. This is normal for them. They love that. It's very normal for Indians. So, and the person was actually a lady who organized this reception. She was so grateful to the devotees. Thank you so much. You saved my job, actually, right? Because if I would have messed that one up, the mayor fires me or something. And she asked the devotees, if I can do something for you, please let me know. And the devotees were very smart. And the mayor said, yes, because Prabhupada will come. So please organize some reception for him too. And she organized the reception by the mayor himself. And this was not bad. The mayor himself, who is the representative of the city of Paris, received Prabhupada in the big building of the big town hall of Paris, which is very, very opulent. Yeah. And all that you can see in the Prabhupada Memories series, and this Prabhupada's following Prabhupada, in the following Prabhupada, it is there. And this Mataji who was there involved at the time, she tells the story. And so, and then you have it on video. One loves it. Huh? Yeah, it's on video. We have it in our books, right? Your Prabhupada shaking hands, I think, or standing next to the mayor, but it is on video. And it was like that. It should have happened like this. Because it's a ceremony. It's a real ceremony. There's an etiquette. Whoever has been to official meetings of you, like big meetings, there is an etiquette you have to follow. Similar to us, no? Right? We have an etiquette, Mangalatik, now you bow, now you stand, now you say Kijai, right? There's an etiquette, and there everyone has to follow that, isn't it? I was in the military, only for basic training. There is an etiquette. You have to follow certain things, and how you stand, how you sit, how you walk, how you hold your hands. It's very, actually military, I think is very good. In my eyes, military is very good. Really. Helped me so much. I was spaced out before, I was spaced out afterwards, but during that I was at least not so spaced. Actually, I was spaced out during also, but at least some moments ahead of some discipline. And anyway, I think it's very good. So there was an etiquette to follow for Prabhupada, and this lady told the devotees the procedure, how everything will happen, right? And they went to Prabhupada and told him, Prabhupada, they had to instruct him, and that Prabhupada was listening, okay, I have to do this and that and this and that, okay. And one thing was, Prabhupada would sit on a chair, and then the mayor would come in. Big mayor comes in with his kind of delegation, and then Prabhupada has to stand up, because the mayor, to receive the mayor, Prabhupada stands up, and the mayor will give a speech. And during this, Prabhupada should stand up and be received by the city of Paris as an honorable guest. Right? And then Prabhupada can speak. So, they instructed Prabhupada about all that. And then it happened. Prabhupada was sitting on his nice chair, and his disciples around him. And then a mayor comes in. Dun, 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 dun. And the mayor, of course, knows the etiquette, comes in, and Prabhupada does not stand up. And it was kind of, and what do you want to say? Prabhupada, please stand up, or what? And the mayor sees it, that Prabhupada doesn't stand up, and he kind of waits. Because he cannot start his thing and speak until Prabhupada. And then one of the disciples to Prabhupada, Prabhupada was just sitting like nothing's going on, right? Prabhupada was completely aloof. And then he said, Prabhupada, you have to stand up. Sorry, you have to stand up. And Prabhupada said, stand up? For whom? Stand up for whom? For whom shall I stand up? And the devotee understood. Prabhupada will not stand up. And then the mayor also understood. Prabhupada will not stand up. And started his speech. Prabhupada sitting. The mayor kept on going. Right? And he explained, it is so nice that you came to the city of Paris, and we are very grateful for your movement, and you do so many wonderful things. And it said, during the same time, there was a Harinam going on the streets of Paris, and the devotees were arrested by the police. At the same time, because they always had problems with the police. So this was also a little contradictory. So, and Prabhupada listened to all that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Honor where honor is due. Prabhupada always understood this is, of course, for Krishna. So Prabhupada, as the ambassador of the spiritual world, the ambassador of Krishna, accepted all that praise. You are kind of like, my dear mayor, you are very right. Keep on praising. Because it's Krishna. And then the mayor was done with his official thing. And then Prabhupada stood up and started his speech. And Prabhupada was not political correct in what he said, and kind of, spoke like this purport, kind of like this. you should be very God conscious and you should not mislead the people and you have a great responsibility as the leader of so many people. And Prabhupada kept on going, a very direct, speech. And and the thing is, you see on the video also, because this would be so nice to have on audio, right? But the devotees had a problem with the recorder, and you can see they tried to fumble when Prabhupada started, and he couldn't get it to work. Somehow it messed up. We don't have this in recording. Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. So many things we have in recording that we don't have. And Prabhupada was like this. And after this, because in one sense, in these things, sometimes you see also in the Bundestag, when the politicians speak, and sometimes one politician is like criticizing heavily, the opposition is criticizing heavily the parties in government, and kind of they don't care, In one sense in politics, keep on speaking. So I think that the mayor probably understood, okay, it's quite direct, but, politicians, what to say. So after the whole thing, nobody was angry or something like this. It was fine. And there was a big banquet. Big prasadam was put there by the devotees, which there, and all the aristocratic people and politicians in their suit and tie walked around, and the devotees in their dhotis walked around, and Prabhupada was very, talking, chit-chatting with the people, and you see a couple of minutes also on recording, and shaking hand with the mayor, and the mayor gets a flower garland, and like this. It was actually nice. And then afterwards, when this all was over, Prabhupada, when he was on the way out, he made a tour through this town hall. And he went into many of the halls and rooms. And the devotee said Prabhupada was looking at all these things, very, appreciating. And then he said to a devotee that, to Hamsadutta, I think, Hamsadutta was there. And he said, actually Hamsadutta, he left his body, right? He left his body a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Month ago, yeah. So he said, I did not know that such things still exist in Kali Yuga. He said, because it was so opulent, the Paris town hall, with all these paintings and this gold and this and that. He was really looking at everything, was quite amazed. So, why I tell this story, this is Prabhupada, right? This was Prabhupada's approach to politicians, to big people. He was direct. He was not afraid. He was not afraid. He understood behind me is Krishna. He wants this movement to happen. I don't have to. There are a couple of strong German words which I don't use now. But I don't have to, subjugate myself to someone like this. I'm here this is the mission of God. And devotees took this over, of course, of Prabhupada and were quite direct and would now go to the mayor of Johannesbrunn and tell him all these things, or would destroy the church. This might be another extreme. Prabhupada would have destroyed the church, but I just say the mood, right? So, but this was for Prabhupada, and we have to really find every one of our, especially preachers and those who are communicating Krishna consciousness, and maybe even in bigger ways. Everyone has to find his style, and I don't want to blame anyone. And I don't want to blame those who are maybe too soft and too careful, and I don't want to blame also those who are too direct and too, blunt. It's very difficult. Who am I to judge? I can only try my best to give Krishna consciousness to others, and because you will be criticized always. Their gurus in ISKCON, they are criticized because they are too heavy, they are too direct, they are too blunt. They are heavily criticized. And others say, no, this is right. This is how Prabhupada did it. And they are gurus or GBCs in ISKCON, they are more, careful or liberal, right? And many think, yeah, very good that you're not so fanatic. And others say, no, they are too liberal, right? It's very difficult. Yeah. So in that sense, everyone has to try his best, of course, on base of the scriptures, on base on Prabhupada and all that. But by the end of the day, we are all individuals and have to try our best. And yeah, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. Yeah. So it's difficult, but it's also interesting. And yeah, let's see where all this goes. And in general, what we can learn from this purport, especially for us now, individuals sitting here, it might come a day, or there will come a day, for all of us, even for Tara, that we are leaders of this movement. Which means you have to lead other people. In some way or other. Some are big, some are not so big. But I say Tara also, especially now for the girls also, but at least it sounds maybe a little hard. I don't mean it like that, but at least you could say you will be a mother. Which is a huge thing actually. And you are leading a child. You have to and this is big. This is not just, I'm only a mother. See the big preachers, the big gurus. In many ways, a mother is a better guru than our big gurus. Because she really takes care of the child. And many gurus, they don't have the capacity to really take care of the disciples. They might have tens of thousands of disciples, but how much can they really take care of one of them? Because they have so many. Can happen, right? But a mother who is a devotee, who is a good devotee, and it said, the mother is the first guru. It said. So in that sense, all of us, almost all of us, except you will not have children or you will not be in any position, or it means you dig a hole and put yourself inside, then you can avoid being a leader. But in general, everyone is in some way a leader. You have to be a full bottle. There has to be some content inside, especially the content which is labeled. If there's written ISKCON leader or devotee or this and that, the devotee should be inside, not any content. Yeah, it should be the same. And it's a big responsibility to lead others, and it will happen. And for this we have to educate ourselves. And now is the time for preparation. For many of us now, that you are not in this pressuring situation when people ask you constant, how should I lead my life? It will happen. They will ask you, how should I lead my life? And you have to give life-changing or life-defining advice. And if you don't know what you're talking about, you will get karma. You will get a reaction. It said the leader of a state, he gets 1/6 of the karma of the people. What is this? 15%, 17%, something like this. Frau Merkel gets almost 20% of all the sinful activities which are going on in Germany. Genauso viel wie die Mehrwertsteuer. Yes. And that shows us that the Mehrwertsteuer is sinful. This is a sign of Kali. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly the same thing they take from the people, they take all their karma also. Of all the cows killed, of all the prostitution, corruption, all this craziness going on in the country. She will get. And everyone will say, very good. Yeah, very good. Very good. They should get, and they should be conscious of it. Because then they should be careful what they do. So, but not only for Merkel, I would say all the leaders, meaning also we, should be very careful how we lead, because we will also be involved in the destiny of those we are leading. Right? So, now is the time, get yourself educated, meaning in a Krishna conscious way. Read Prabhupada's books very carefully, think about them, take your sadhana serious, work on your character. Very soon there will be people watching you and want to learn from you. Right? And especially I said this with the children, because I hear that the children, they are always watching the parents. You watch everything. And if you're not ready, if you're still in your ego with your nonsense or doing nonsense things, You don't want your child to, hear or see that. My mother could not protect me so much, but tried to protect my little sister. And when I started listening to rap and hardcore music and metal music, she didn't want me to listen this in front of my sister. And so why? This is very nice when all this nonsense sound vibration was going through the house. She wanted to protect you. And now I can understand, of course, I would not want my child to hear this nonsense, right? So, but if you are not still attached to, anyway, I don't want to say any band or something to create some scars, but if you're still attached to some karmi music, you listen to this all day long, and you don't want your child to hear it. Sometimes the parents, I saw it with my own eyes. One of my old friends, I kind of knew him. He had a child, and we very often made parties and were drinking and smoking, and this child was maybe 2-3 years old, and just for fun, he was holding a bottle of beer to the child's mouth or a cigarette. It was not really letting him drink or smoke, but kind of fun. This is so bad. I think some of us saw that with their own eyes, right? So this is how it is. So anyway, we should be very pure, educated, nice devotees, that we can really be examples. And this means acharya. This was actually one of the first instructions I got by my spiritual master. We were standing there at the airport and he left, and this were myself and 2-3 other devotees and some Matajis. And then he left the airport and he said, "You all should be acharyas." And acharya for us is like this big title. He said, "We should be acharyas." Yeah, someone who teaches by example. Right? Teaching by example. And for this we have to work a lot on our behavior.